Welcome back to NFL Kings. Thank you all for joining us today as we break down the Week 14 matchup between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Buffalo Bills. Being played in Buffalo with a slight -2 for the Steelers. You can get a -1.5 in some spots, -2.5 in some spots, just depends on the site. Do have a slight edge for the Steelers at nearly 57% chance to win. And we do have our number 2 ranked team versus our number 7 ranked team with quite a bit of wind in that Buffalo. Highest wind total of the day at 15 miles an hour coming out of the west. And obviously a cold 39-degree day in Buffalo. Definitely could play a factor, but, Pittsburgh's kind of used to this weather as well. Definitely Buffalo is obviously used to this weather. So looking at a couple of the injuries, we definitely see some big ones with Joe Hayden obviously being one of the biggest ones here, and then obviously Dupree being out for the season, limiting their pass rush, and then obviously their number one corner, who they would normally be going up against Diggs. Obviously, a favorable matchup now for Diggs going against either Lane or Sutton. Could be definitely a pretty good day for Diggs, potentially, even though going against that Pittsburgh defense. Definitely could still be a pretty decent day. If you notice, the Buffalo defense against wide receivers is decent, though. They do only give up their number 9 overall and giving up to wide receivers. Nothing too crazy at 1903. 11 touchdowns, that's pretty good production overall, but more or less, and they do a decent enough job at that, but they do a terrible job against both tight ends, running backs, and quarterbacks overall. So definitely could be still a pretty darn good day for Ben Roethlisberger and the passing offense. The one issue obviously they've been having is they've been throwing way too much, and if you can pretty much notice that down here in their rush play percentage being 26th in the league, pass play percentage number 7, and nearly 63% of the time they're passing, and honestly that number is even higher recently as they've been throwing even more lately. Connor could be back for this game, though, so, maybe, or I should say he's expected to be back for this game, so that could play a factor in them maybe potentially wanting to run the ball more, as their running offense has been horrendous, both on the season and just their overall attempts. They just throw way too much. Over 50 attempts for Ben Roethlisberger is just insanity to me. I don't know what they're thinking. Play calling has been a huge problem for Pittsburgh. The fact that they've been have had as good a record as they had has not been because of the offensive coordinator. I'll just tell you that right now, folks. It's not because of the offensive coordinator. It's right here. All this red on the defensive side of the ball. Their defense is legit, and legit. That is the reason why they've been dominating games, is simply because their defense is, if not the best, it's top 3 in the league, with the Rams and a few other teams, kind of right there. Bills, however, if you notice, they don't even have a single spot really on the red here. Their defense is definitely not one of the better ones. You'd say they took a huge step back this last season. And you just look at their matchups. Outside of Hughes and Tre'Davious White, their safeties are playing decent, but it's really just Hughes and White that are really solid players right now. Obviously, Tre'Davious White's a really, really good corner. And we'll give some of the receivers some problems, but they have 4 receivers that can all make plays on Pittsburgh, so that shouldn't really be an issue for Pittsburgh. They should be able to pass on this team just fine. And they match up obviously well. Both tight ends are going to do decent. The big question is whether or not Pittsburgh's going to run the ball. If they decide to actually run the ball, they should have some success considering how bad this team is, 24th in the league in rush defense. That's pretty much where they are too. Last 3, they give up 126 a game. Pittsburgh needs to run the ball. They don't run the ball, so that's a little bit of a scary scenario for them. If they decide to not run the ball again, this could easily play into Buffalo's hands. 15-mile-an-hour winds is not something you want to be throwing the ball a lot. Especially deep pass plays. You want to be able to move the ball with the short passing game and dictate via the running game when you're dealing with 15-mile-an-hour winds. That's just the way you're supposed to be playing, which is kind of scary. Wow, after a win, they're 7-0-1. That's really interesting. for the over-under. The over's hitting every time on them. And if you notice, I don't think it's showing here. Yeah, there you go. They're pretty much, if you notice, a Buffalo is an over team. They hit a lot of overs. If it wasn't for Pittsburgh's defense, I would say this is going over too, but you notice that Pittsburgh goes a lot of unders, especially because their offense hasn't really been scoring very much lately. If you notice, you can kind of see that other than this 30-plus point game against one of the worst defenses in Cincinnati. But I'm only putting up 27 against Jacksonville's horrible defense, 19 and 17 against good defenses. So when they do play good defenses, they're going to score under 20. Bad defenses, they're probably in the high 20s, low 30s, like Tennessee 27 there. That's probably where I would expect this game to be, right around 27, maybe 27, 24, yeah. That does seem to be about right. If you kind of look at the numbers here, they score about 28 a game. They give up about 25. So 28, that's pretty much right there. A 28-24 game, 28-21 game, based upon what Pittsburgh gives up, could be in play here. Don't really see, obviously with those injuries there isn't much for Buffalo. They're pretty healthy, but there isn't really much as far as the matchups that I'm really too worried about. These teams do just kind of match up really well against each other, making for honestly a really good football game. This should be one of the better games of the week. We do have the numbers leaning toward the Pittsburgh. You can kind of see that obviously with their defense being so good, but that Diggs matchup is scary. I mean, he's gonna have a great matchup this week, and if he goes off, they could actually have a pretty darn good day. Obviously, them being at home, they play well at home as well. We do like Pittsburgh to win the game. Pittsburgh -1.5, but I can't honestly recommend this bet to anybody. Can't recommend either side to anybody. Maybe if you get Bills plus like a touchdown, that's probably worth potentially playing. I'll even put that up there. Bills plus 7.5. That's a pretty good bet. You'll be able to get that on a teaser. Especially with it, if you get it at like 2 or 2.5, you can get an even better teaser. So I would highly recommend that. They're just too good of a football team. This being at home, the fact that it will be probably a little bit more of a lower scoring game. I don't see Pittsburgh. They don't pull away from anybody outside of bad football teams, and you've kind of noticed that here. They don't really pull away from anybody. Let's see. So you got. Let me look at these scores. We pulled a little bit away from the Giants, a 10-point win. A little bit away from the Eagles and like a 9-point win. Obviously, blew out Cleveland in a weird game. Blew out Cincinnati and blew out Jacksonville a bit. But anybody that's good, Baltimore, Washington, obviously beat them. Dallas kept it close. Baltimore again. Tennessee, Houston, Denver kept it close. So, like, the good teams keep it close. They keep it within a touchdown. Every good team's been able to do that. Trying to think of a matchup that was similar for them. And you know what? They haven't played a good defense all season, except for Miami. It was probably the best one, and that was before Miami's defense was really Miami's defense. Oh, and Rams here, they put up 32 on the Rams defense. That's interesting. So this actually could go over just because, man, they're just such a high-scoring team, and their defense is just not that good. They're going to have to score points to keep this game close. This game actually could be an overplay. It's a scary overplay. I wouldn't play the over or under in this game, though. There's just no way. I mean, with Buffalo, though, like hitting so many overs, it could be in play. That's scary to think about. Yeah, so recommendation is to lean toward Pittsburgh Moneyline and -1.5. That's where the numbers lean. But I do feel a little bit more comfortable with this Bills plus 7.5 bet, honestly, than I do with the Steelers winning this game. So take that with what. Yeah. So that's kind of where we lean. I would kind of stay in kind of that range. Yeah. So good luck to you guys in your rest of your Week 14 matchups. Be sure to subscribe for more content, as we do upload more and more content each and every week. And we are covering both the Chiefs Miami game, obviously this Pittsburgh Buffalo game, as well as the Baltimore Cleveland game this week. So be sure to check out those videos if you want in-depth analysis and breakdowns on those games. And be sure to subscribe for more content. And I thank you all for watching NFL Kings.